For those of you who have not met, although now all of you have met Sant Singh through our reflection, he, like as I mentioned before, is one of our track leads for Sikhi 101. I actually met Sant Singh for the first time at Civic as well in 2014, which was the first year that we had held Civic here in British Columbia, and before that we had held Civic for a number of years in the US. As you will have already seen, and you will continue to see, that Sant Singh has this incredible way of just presenting and storytelling. And I think you are all in for a real treat if you have not heard him before present. So I will turn this back over to Sant Singh for this first session. The session's title is Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, Childhood and Life as a Peacemaker. So this session description is Understand Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's life through the Guru Granth Sahib and secondary sources, with a specific focus on the childhood of the Guru and his work as a mentor of, as a mediator of conflict. And with that, I will turn this over to Sant Singh.
Thank you so much. So today we're going to be very quickly speaking about Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's life. We're going to start off talking about his childhood, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time on his role as a mediator of conflict, as someone who brought about peace. We know Guru Teghbahadar Sahib for his life as for the sacrifice he made for the freedom of choice in order for people to practice a religion that they wish. But Guru Teghbahadar Sahib was much more than also their incredible shahidi, their incredible act of shahidi. They also revealed a lot of Bani, which Jasleen will be talking about. And they also lived a long life before they became Guru, and then were Guru for quite a while after they became Guru as well. They were born in 1621. Their parents were Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, the sixth Guru, and Mata Nanaki. They were married in 1632 at a very young age. You can see they were only 11 years old, which was common at the time to be married at around that age. They were married, of course, to Mata Gujri, a really important figure who acted like the prime minister of the Guru's court, both for Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji and Guru Gobind Singh Ji. In 1644, at the age of 23, they moved to Bakala, the village just now known as Baba Bakala. And at Bakala, they spent a number of years. You can see there, they spent about 20 years in Bakala, sort of working, but also really spending time developing themselves, developing their relationship with Vaheguru. They became Guru at the age of 43. Then they started their journey to the east. And then at the age of 54, they were Shaheed. In between that, after they started their long journey to the east, on their return, they started the town of Jakananaki, which became the city of Anandpur Sahib, where Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji also spent much of his life. So what's really interesting is that if we look at the Gurus, especially the later Gurus from Guru Arjan Sahib Ji onwards, all the Gurus who were descendants of Guru Ramdas Ji and Bibi Pani, they really demonstrate a level of knowledge and wisdom at a very young age. And what's important to know is that this did not just come naturally, but that this was something that was developed within them by the culture that the Gurus had created at the time. That at a very young age, and let me just minimize this so you can see, that at a very young age, the Gurus were educated in both all different types of learning, both scientific, literary, scholarly works, and they also were educated in other forms like horseback riding and taking care of horses and swordsmanship and martial arts and so forth. And that's why you see all of these gurus, Guru Hari Sahib Ji, Guru Harkrishan Sahib Ji, Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, becoming guru at a very young age and able to really take on this massive responsibility of leading the community at a very young age because of the work that was used because of the culture that had been developed by the Guru Sahibs in order to educate them at a very young age. So they were educated in these sort of classical learnings that were around at the time, but also military training, and they were well educated in all these different fields. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was really blessed because he had these three mentors, these three great Gursikhs who were alive at the time of his childhood, and they were the ones who taught him really important lessons. He had Bhai Bidhi Chand, the great warrior of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, who had become a Sikh during Guru Arjan Sahib Ji's time and lived throughout Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's time. And from Bhai Bidhi Chand, he learned the art of warfare. From Bhai Gurdas Ji, the famous Bhai Gurdas, who wrote, of course, the first copy of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and whose Bani is also respected along with Guru Granth Sahib Ji as the key to Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Bhai Gurdas Ji, he learned poetry and philosophy. And from Baba Buddha Ji, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji learned statesmanship, meaning he learned how to navigate the world of politics, of how to interact with another state. Because, of course, throughout the Guru's time, from Guru Nanak Sahib Ji all the way to Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, there was always very complex relationships that the Gurus had with the Mughal state and with other states around them at the time. And this need to really develop their idea of leadership, their idea of how to lead the community, how to interact with other states, how to put forth their community's goals in the best way possible. All those things they learned from Baba Buddha Ji. So really, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was blessed to have just these three incredible Gursikhs, very famous Gursikhs, be their mentors. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was born in Amritsar. The Gurdwara where they were born is still there today. It's called Guru Ka Mahal, the Guru's mansion, and it is where Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji would physically live when he was in Amritsar. And that's the house where Mata Nanaki had Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was also very proficient in music. He revealed Bani in 15 rags. He also popularized the mridang, which is a type of drum that became a part of Gurmat Sangeet. So Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji, from a young age, was educated in all of these different forms and these different types of classical knowledge and learning. He also was very educated in how to fight, how to be a warrior, because of course for a Sikh one needs to be both a warrior and a scholar, a saint and a soldier. So he would have learned how to fight with a shamsher and an asa and a sirohi and a gadda. He would have learned how to fight with a katar and a khanjar and a peshkabz and all these other different weapons. Baba Teghbahadar was also taught horsemanship, the science of looking after horses, because of course horses were integral animals for warfare at the time. They really were. The reason why Sikhs were such good warriors was our relationship with our horses. So I want to sort of finish off this section about Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji's childhood by talking about his name. A lot of us don't know that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was not born with the name Tegh Bahadur. He was actually born with the name Tyagmal. And he is given the name Tegh Bahadur after the Battle of Kartarpur, in which he fights in one of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's 4 battles. Baba Tyagmal fought in the Battle of Kartarpur at the age of 13 or 14 years old. So what does Tyagmal mean? Tyagna means to renounce, to be separate, to be detached from the world. And of course, Tegh Bahadur is this really epic name, such a powerful name, really incredible. And Tegh means sword, and Bahadur means brave, the brave sword, the sword warrior, which is just an incredible name. And, I find it really interesting when we look at images of the Guru. They often show Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji as this sort of very saintly figure in modern paintings, without the accoutrements of a warrior. But if you look at older historical paintings of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji, and of course all paintings are after the fact and were not painted while the Gurus were alive. But if you look at older historical paintings from the 18th and 17th century, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji looks very much like a warrior. He's wearing a kalgi. He is wearing a damala. Guru Sahib Ji has a kirpan on, and he very much is this warrior figure. So the fact that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji gave up his life in this very peaceful way and protested peacefully against the actions of the Mughal government does not mean that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was not a warrior. In fact, what makes his act of peaceful protest so much more powerful, in fact, so much more epic, so much more awe-inspiring is the fact that Guru Sahib Ji was a great warrior. He knew how to fight. He was a master warrior. But he realized that at that time, what was needed was, in order for the biggest impact to happen for his action, he needed to give up his life peacefully. When the time came to pick up the sword, then the Gurus were not afraid to pick up the sword at all, and they willingly and fought battles and were victorious in many battles. Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji and Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. But Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji gave his life in this very peaceful way, but that does not mean that he was not a great warrior. So I wanted to give a quick sakhi, a quick story about what type of person Tyagmal was as a child. There's a story about Tyagmal that for one of his brother's weddings, he was given a brand new clothes by his mother, Mata Nanaki. And he felt really fancy and he was really happy. He was about 7 or 8 years old. He was sort of dancing around in his fancy new clothes. And then his much older brother, Baba Gurditta, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's eldest child, said to him, "Let's go out for a walk." They went for a walk, and when they came back a little while later, Baba Tyagmal, young Baba Tyagmal, was not wearing his fancy clothes anymore. He was dressed in rags. And his clothes were nowhere to be found. And his mother said, "What happened to your clothes? I just sewed these beautiful clothes for you, and you are now coming back in rags. What happened to your beautiful clothes?" And he got embarrassed and shy, and he ran away to his room and refused to answer his mother as to what had happened to his clothes. So she asked Baba Gurditta, she said, "Gurditta, what happened to Tyagmal's clothes?" And Baba Gurditta told the story to Mata Nanaki, and he said, "Mataji, we were walking, and Baba Tyagmal was so happy with his clothes, but we came across a very poor person who had no clothes at all, who was dressed in rags. And Tyagmal felt so impacted by this that he was showing off for having all these wonderful clothes, and there were people who had no clothes. So right then and there, he took off his clothes, gave his fancy clothes to this poor person, and took the poor person's clothes on himself." And that was the type of person Tyagmal was throughout his life. Baba Tyagmal was throughout his life someone who sacrificed himself for the sake of others. So how did Baba Tyagmal get the name Tegh Bahadur? Well, this is also a pretty epic story. It's from the Battle of Kartarpur, one of Guru Hargobind Sahib's 4 battles. And in the Battle of Kartarpur, Baba Tyagmal was fighting with a large tega. A tega is a kirpan that is sort of heavier than a regular sword. And it is said, according to Sikh historical sources like Suresh Prakash, that Baba Tyagmal was so proficient with the sword that he was cutting the enemy's arrows in half as they flew through the air. That's how proficient he was with his sword. And as he cut these arrows in half and he fought on the battlefield, all the Sikhs around him were very impressed that this young man, only 14 years old, was fighting so bravely. At the end of the battle, as Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji went around to make sure all the Sikhs who were injured were well taken care of, and was congratulating the Sikhs who had been victorious in the battle, he came across his son Baba Tyagmal, and Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji hugged his son close and patted him on the back and said, "The way you fought today, your name should not be Tyagmal, it should be Teghbahadar." And that's how Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji got the name Teghbahadar. It was given to him by his father, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, because of how he fought in the Battle of Kartarpur at the age of 14 years old. Such an incredible and epic story, really powerful story. And I think it really demonstrates the quality of education and training that the Gursikhs went through at the time, that the Guru's children especially went through at the time. And Baba Tyagmal was so proficient in fighting that even at a young age, as a teenager, what we would today call a teenager, he was able to fight on the battlefield so bravely that Guru Sahib Ji changed his name to Teghbahadar. And here's a quote from Suraj Prakash talking about Baba Tyagmal in battle, that this is why he was named Teghbahadar. The Guru, having thought about it, renamed Guru the Baba Tyagmal into Teghbahadar. Okay. Now we're going to go to the second part of our talk for today, in the last 10 or so minutes, where we talk about Guru Sahib Ji's ability to handle conflict and to resolve conflict. So throughout his life, Guru Sahib Ji had to face a lot of conflict. Of course, at the end of his life, he faced a conflict with the Mughal government, which we will not be talking about today. We'll be talking about some of these earlier episodes, which some of you may not be as familiar with. Before Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was found as a Guru, because of course Guru Harkrishan Sahib Ji had simply said Baba Bakala, that the next Guru would be at Bakala village and it would be my Baba, meaning my grandfather. And that's what Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was to Guru Harkrishan Sahib Ji. He was his Dadaji's younger brother, essentially. He was Baba Gardatta's younger brother. All of these other fake gurus had come to Bakala and set themselves up as fake, as the real Guru, pretending to be the real Guru to confuse the Sikh population. Until, of course, Bhai Makkan Shah found Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji. And a lot of these fake gurus were descendants of earlier relatives of the gurus, descendants of Prithi Chand, Guru Arjan Sahib Ji's older brother, descendants of Suraj Mal, which was Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji's older brother, and descendants of Tirmal, or Tirmal himself, which was Guru Har Sahib Ji's older brother. So all of these fake people were pretending to be the Guru. And of course, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was discovered by the Sikhs as being the real Guru. And here's just a quick sort of family lineage. So you can see that Tirmal is Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji's nephew. He's Guru Har Sahib Ji's older brother. And Suraj Mal is Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji's older brother, one of his older brothers. And Ram Rai is his great nephew, along with Guru Harkrishan Sahib Ji is also his great nephew. And so you can see the relationship between these different figures. So when Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji was installed as Guru on the Takat as the next Guru, Tirmal, one of those 22 fake Gurus, refused to back down and kept claiming that he was in fact the real Guru. Remember, Tirmal is Guru Har Sahib Ji's older brother, Baba Gardatta's oldest son. And so he's the oldest son of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji's oldest son. And he's claiming that he should be the rightful Guru, not Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji. And Tirmal hires a guy named Shiha, and Shiha attacks Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji, loots Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji, and even shoots Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji, and Guru Sahib Ji gets a small bullet wound on his shoulder. The bullet grazes his shoulder. And the Sikhs respond with a lot of anger, and they go and they beat up Tirmal and his followers, and they loot Tirmal's property, and they take away the Kartarpur Bir, the original copy of Guru Granth Sahib, which Tirmal had taken from Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, and had refused to return to the Guru's family. But instead of attacking back, what Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji did, the newly created Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji did, is that he told the Sikhs to return all the property they had taken from Tirmal, including the Kartarpur Bir, and in fact to apologize to Tirmal for taking his property. This is really an incredible act. And it demonstrates the forgiving nature of the Guru, that even though he was shot, even though his possessions were taken, Guru Sahib Ji instead gave all the possessions back to Tirmal and refused to let the Sikhs take revenge on Tirmal for his actions. And we see this in Gurbani, that the Guru is always forgiving, again and again and again, that the Guru is Bakshan Had. And here from two historical granths, we see from Sukha Singh's Gurbilas Patshahi Dasmi and Santokh Singh's Suraj Prakash, we see Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji saying, don't keep these possessions, return them to Tirmal, don't take revenge on Tirmal. And this really echoes what happened with Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji when Datu, Guru Angad Sahib Ji's oldest son, attacked Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji when he became Guru. It's very similar. It echoes the experience of the earlier Guru. And this conflict between the earlier Guru's children and the new Guru is a common theme throughout the Guru history period. But it's interesting to see how the Gurus dealt with this conflict. A little while later, a few years later, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji is traveling and comes to Amritsar, and he wants to come to Harmandir Sahib to do darshan of Harmandir Sahib, and instead the Minnas, who are the descendants of Priti Chand, who had taken over Harmandir Sahib after Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji left Amritsar, refused to open the doors to Harmandir Sahib to Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji. Guru Sahib Ji, instead of fighting and telling his Sikhs to remain peaceful, goes and sits calmly close to Akal Takht Sahib, does some part for a few minutes, and then gets up and leaves gracefully. The place where Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji waited and did his part, instead of forcibly entering Harmandir Sahib, is now commemorated with a Gurdwara called Tara Sahib, which is just behind, if you're looking at Akal Takht's face on, it's to the right and a little bit back behind Akal Takht Sahib. And that's the place where Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji rested while he waited when they would not let him into Harmandir Sahib. When Guru Sahib Ji left the village, left Amritsar Sahib, the people of the village found out what had happened. The people of Amritsar found out what had happened, and they were really disgusted with the Minnas, the descendants of Priti Chand, who had refused the Guru entry into Harmandir Sahib. And a woman, specifically Mata Hariya, from the village Valla, came to Guru Sahib Ji and opened the gates of the city to Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji and asked for forgiveness on behalf of the citizens of Amritsar. And then all of the women of Amritsar came out and apologized to Guru Sahib Ji for the actions of the Minnas in Amritsar, and Guru Sahib Ji blessed the women of Amritsar for their courageous and dignified stance in accepting the Guru and opening the doors of the gates to the Guru. And here we see again, very much like Guru Sahib Ji's conflict with Tirmal, that Guru Sahib Ji is in fact, instead of directly going into conflict with someone, is choosing the side of peace and choosing the side of benevolence instead of attacking these people. On his travels to eastern India, Guru Sahib Ji traveled for a little while with a Sikh named Ram Singh, who was a Rajput Raja Ram Singh, who had long been a follower of the Gurus. Ram Singh asked Guru Sahib Ji for help because he had been appointed by Aurangzeb to get a local native tribe in control in the Assam area, and a home tribe, uh, whose king was named Supangunmanj. And Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji agreed to Ram Singh's request for help and traveled with Ram Singh in order to go to this place in the jungles of Assam to try to make peace between the Mughal government and this Assamese small kingdom. According to Sikh history and stories, the Assamese have long been rumored to have magical powers, and they frightened Ram Singh's army and they threw a big stone at the Guru, which is still kept there at the Gurdwara in Assam. And they threw a tree at the Guru as well. And the Guru, instead of fighting back, tells Ram Singh and the Assamese king to make peace amongst themselves and to stop fighting amongst themselves. And he tells Ram Singh that this is these people's land and it's wrong for the Mughals to come here and take it over, and that he needs to make a border with the Assamese people and respect that border between the two nations. Instead of listening to Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji's advice, the two sides fight. Ram Singh's nephew is killed, and the siege weakens the Assamese king. Ram Singh's son had been put in custody by Aurangzeb while he had been sent on this mission. And Aurangzeb, hearing that the campaign was not going successfully, in fact, kills Ram Singh's son for Ram Singh not doing the campaign successfully. Both sides are weakened. Both sides are feeling the pain of their war. Both sides have suffered and lost. And Guru Sahib Ji uses this opportunity to tell both sides to come together in peace and to stop their fighting. He allows the Assamese people to remain independent, the Guwahati people to remain independent. And he lets Ram Singh also show that he was successful in his mission by creating peace in the area and stopping the attacks on the Mughal government from the local Assamese people. In order to commemorate the peace between these two groups, and you can see in this painting in the background, the soldiers from both sides pick up dirt from the battlefield and bring it over and create this mound of peace, which you can see on the left-hand side, which is called Damdama Sahib in Dhubri, Assam. And this mound of peace is still there today in Assam next to the Gurdwara. And it commemorates the peace between the Mughals and this local Assamese kingdom. So what can we learn from these stories of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji creating peace and fighting for peace, advocating for peace in these different situations and avoiding conflict where possible? We can see that Guru Sahib Ji was refused to bend on the principle of sovereignty and independence for the local Assamese people. He ensured that they kept their sovereignty and their freedom, but he also made sure that the Mughals could also leave the field of battle, leave the field of conflict with their heads held high. And so he brokered peace between both sides, leaving both sides satisfied and creating a situation that both sides would be happy with. In Amritsar, when he had the doors closed on him, Guru Sahib Ji refused to be swayed by the Mina's aggressive posture, and instead simply left Amritsar and only returned when the women of Amritsar opened the doors of the city to him and welcomed him back in. when he became Guru at Bakala and Tirmal brought Sihan to fight Guru Teghbahadar Sahib and shoot at Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, Guru Sahib returned Tirmal's possessions and refused to engage in conflict with him. So we can see in all three instances here where Guru Sahib Ji went out of his way to ensure that peace remained. And this is an interesting question that we will look at when we talk about our discussion questions at the end, is what is the role of peace and what is the role of conflict for Sikh? Because of course we know that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib himself was a great warrior and had fought in battles as a young man and was capable of fighting and kept an army at Jagannath and Anandapur Sahib. And of course, his son, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, fought many battles, over 19 battles during his time of Guruship. So what is the role of conflict? What is the role of peace? When should one take up arms? When should one not take up arms? These are some big questions to think about for the rest of the presentation. We'll return to these in our discussion. So thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you learned something a little bit about the life of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib Ji. And I'll pass it back to Anu to give it over to Jasleen. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.